and the selling out black bourgeoisie has made a deal with globalists to allow them to use racism to go after other people's rights. And the deal is that they won't talk about any real racism from a broader global corporate community. And the best example of that is one that I like to give it, Bill Gates, right? Bill Gates comes on his own foundation YouTube channel and says with extreme clarity, population growth at the global level isn't an issue. It's going to peak out around 10 billion. It seems that we could handle that. The real issue is rapid population growth in countries that can't handle it. And then he goes to a cutaway of all African and Arab countries. That's racism. That's eugenics. That's the arrogance of a global agenda. That's white supremacy.
The Rock did the same thing. The Rock came out after the first quote apology from Joe Rogan. He said, "Great stuff, brother. Perfectly articulated. Looking forward to coming up and breaking out the tequila with you and being on the show soon." Gets a little bit of pushback. I saw like a single tweet from a noteworthy person that you would consider to not be a bot. And he comes out again 3 seconds after a little bit of pushback from the woke mob and says, "I was not aware of his N-word use prior to my comments, but now I've become educated to his complete narrative. Learning moment for me." That's how fast you're going to throw your friends who are obviously not racist under the bus.
Do you think he made a mistake apologizing?
I definitely think he made a mistake apologizing, because to me, it's like putting a bloody carcass in a water full of sharks. Once you start to apologize, they smell weakness, they smell fear, and they feel like they can just then continue to come up with something else that you need to apologize for. And I hate to see a man groveling. It's like, it feels like he's groveling to me. When I think of Joe Rogan, I think of a man that has like the 5 o'clock shadow. He's not really quite clean shaven all the time. I think of somebody tough, he might have on a tight t-shirt. I saw a video, looked like he had just wiped nair all over his face. Face was smooth as a baby's bottom, and he just looked weak.
At what point is this going to stop? Is he qualified to coach or not? He looks at himself as mixed race. It's never been an issue with him. But that's why you can't try to appease the mob, because the reality is, Jason, there is no appeasing the mob.
No, there isn't. There's a couple things I find fascinating about Mike McDaniel, is ESPN keeps insisting to say he identifies as multiracial. And maybe that's something Mike McDaniel is insisting upon behind the scenes. And if he is, hats off to him. I really respect it.
People who are chess players know how to turn that, right? That hole that hasn't been filled. They know how to use that to their advantage. I'll use a different example, Jason. If you meet a young lady and you get her a cup of coffee, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, Jason, that's the sweetest thing any guy's ever done for me. Oh my gosh." You know immediately that this woman has never been loved by anybody in her entire life. And you know that even if you do not intend to treat her this way, a real hunter will come along and they'll say, "Oh boy, this is easy. I mean, talk about a zebra with a hobbled leg. This is easy, like shooting fish in a barrel." That's how the white liberals treat black folks.
It's time. I'm tired of this. We spending all this money as entertainers inside these stores. They hire these black people, and these black people are more racist than white people when they get their job inside of Gucci. All of a sudden, you stop playing with us, bro.
Do you believe in white supremacy? Apparently you do. Apparently you think white people are superior to black people because you didn't even want to talk to the black manager because you thought he wasn't good enough. So I need to know, what is it, Jim Jones? Are you really about this life? Because you really don't want this smoke. I need y'all to stop being out here lying and pretending. Because if this black manager wasn't good enough to talk to, then that means you believe in black inferiority. I'm sorry, Jason, y'all. That was the first time I saw that video, and it was like me being a bull, seeing red and getting the instructions, tiptoe. Although you see red, I'm sorry. That is ridiculous to me.
The KKK did not, as far as I know, set aside $30 million to pass out crack pipes to black people as part of racial justice and equity. The best they can show me about the KKK is that like 10 or 15 of them will show up at a rally trying to protect a Robert E. Lee statue. That has no impact on me or you. Look, maybe, and whatever happened on January 6th, no impact on me or you. It wasn't even about us.
You know, men have to be so guarded now. They have to walk around like, you know, like they're toxic. I hate that, you know, toxic masculinity. There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. There's toxic people, and there's a whole lot of toxic women out there. And so I see these men going around fearful to be able to speak. Can they do anything? Men can't even gather together for guy humor anymore. I mean, I love guy humor. I grew up around with guy humor, you know. It's just, they can't enjoy man spaces. Let the men have their spaces. Let them have their humor. Let them have their lives as men, and don't always categorize it as being a threat because it's something separate that you're not controlling. And, you know, so I'm a big defender, but I also, at the same time, am guarded of the reactions among the men to it, which always puts me on the outs of everybody, to be honest. You know, because I'll on one side be bashing the feminists, but then I'll turn around and say, but guys, you know, you can't let them define and redefine you.
I'm sure you remember the glorious time that was when one Barack Hussein Obama was elected as the first black president of the United States. And a lot of people looked at that as a landmark achievement. There was this term called, we are now in post-racial America. Fast forward 12 to 15 years after that achievement, those very same people are now calling America the most racist place in the country, in the world, on the planet, in the galaxy. My view was, well, wait a minute, you had Obama. Again, it was symbolic. And it turns out, I don't want to get too political here, I'm not Delano Squires, but it seemed to me that when it came to making steps and having legislation that really helped a group of people, seemed to be more of the alphabet group than it was black Americans.
Boom! So glad you're a part of this show. I'm so glad you listen and follow this show.
How do you choose to lay down and have sex with somebody who's got enough sense that they're not going to abandon their seed? Right? That's coaching for young women. They're not getting that. They're chasing these rappers and shit. These guys, excuse my French, man, but they're chasing these guys that you know, these guys that just aren't even built to head a household, right? Then you coach the men. Look, that's your son, man. You know, you're supposed to be there, and you pick that woman to have a son with. She's as valuable as the child. Value that woman. Y'all figure it out so that you can give that child what they deserve, which is a healthy, peaceful, well-constructed home. And we're not doing that. We're going in a whole different direction. And all those dead children that you're seeing out in the street, these kids going to prison, these kids ended up in poverty, these kids ended up uneducated, depressed, on drugs, suicidal, all this other stuff, that's coming from the fact that you're not preserving the most important institution in our community, which is the black family, period.
We need to let their worldview at some point be so consistent with itself that it falls over, and then have such a structure set up so that when it falls over, we know how to pick it up. And I want to push them all the way to the end on this. Hey, buy them cars, buy them houses, because we've seen this before. They did this to black people before. And this is what Boyce was getting at. When they took the black man out of the black home, they collapsed the family. And they've been giving us gifts to try and maintain our faithfulness to them this whole time. And now they're just, the government has been the drug dealer for the black family the longest, and it's proven that it hasn't worked. And look at our education. It's all broken and destroyed. And we keep sending our kids to the government schools. So, I mean, we just need to go all the way in. You know, let's not stop with the crack pipes. Let's go with the crack. Let's go with the marijuana. I say we do the whole thing, buy cars. Let's get that $39,000
Hookers,
shopping.
the whole thing.
Yeah, why not, man? I think we need to give every person on crack at least $300,000 a month to be able to spend it at a gambling casino. That'll fix the problem.
The point to you is that in a case like Ben Simmons, let's just say he is faking. Let's just say he is, winning's not his highest priority. Let's say he's not the dog everybody wants him to be or that they paid for. Are we going to overlook the fact that the Philadelphia 76ers culture, by and large, over the last 10 years, has been hyper business, that winning hasn't always been their highest priority? Ben Simmons was cultivated in a culture that says, hey, we could tank for 2 years. We could tank for 2 years because this is about business and getting the best draft picks. My point is, this sort of anti-competitive spirit and ethos that's emerged in our pro sports had Sam Hinkie and the Philadelphia 76ers trying to cheat their way to victory. So why wouldn't Ben Simmons?
Royce, that's why I had you on today. I knew you'd say something good. I knew you'd give me something, a different way to look at this and think about this. I wasn't prepared for that answer. That's a damn good one.
Numbers 12, Moses had an interracial marriage, and Miriam and Aaron came forth and said something about it. And God gave Miriam leprosy for 7 days. He said, don't you ever talk like that. Go read it. It's in Numbers 12. So God himself approves of interracial marriage and is opposed to those who are against it. You know, this is biblical stuff. And so, you know, we have moved to a rather good place where we are realizing MLK's dream. And that is that we are looking at each other based on the content of their character. Jason, you and I got a hell of a lot more in common than me and any white liberal. A white liberal that's 31 years old and looks exactly like me, we got nothing in common.
Are you excited about this halftime show?
Jason, I have to be honest. I am. So, you know, during halftime, I'm going to be right there like, when I met you last night, baby. And then I'm going to be there with, we are lovers true and through, and though we made it through the storm. And then I'm going to go to falling back on that X with a hell about gangster lean, getting funky on the mic like an old batch of collard greens. Jason, you know that's my music. So I am going to be excited. One of the things, though, I have to say is that hip hop has come a long way. Like, we are a long way from the hip hop, the hibbit to the hip hop, you don't stop, a rocket to the bang bang boogie, say up jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogity beat.
I think the Rams are going to win by 17 to 20 points. I think Aaron Donald's going to be the MVP of this game. I think he's going to put the exclamation and make a bid, a case for the greatest defensive player of all time with his performance on Sunday.
Whoa!
Now, I will say this. For me, it'll be hard to surpass Reggie White. But the last time, did Ray Lewis win MVP of his first Super Bowl?
Yes,
I was at that game, and he was clearly the most dominant player. And so I'm expecting that type of performance from Aaron Donald. I think the Rams win easy. No disrespect to the Bengals. They got a great future ahead of them. They're just starting out, but they won't have an answer for Aaron Donald and Von Miller. And Matt Stafford will play well enough. Cooper Kupp and OBJ will play well enough. Blowout, baby.